Welcome to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. The Army Football Show is an insider's guide for cadets, old grads, and college football fans to follow the Army team throughout their season as they seek to beat Navy and claim the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Ask for Football is brought to you by our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you can trust to navigate the real estate market with ease. Visit jocelynbradley.com to learn more. And let's get started at the Ask for Football Army Football Show.
Welcome back, Army sports fans, to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. Yeah, it's hard to be happy after what we just witnessed at ECU, but that's okay. We're going to try to keep the excitement up as we kind of navigate this show. So welcome back. As I said, I'm your host, Jordan, in Huntsville, Alabama, joined by Omar in Oklahoma and Dan in coastal Connecticut. Gentlemen, how are we holding up this week?
Making it, man. I mean, not only did we watch Army get tromped, but then I got sick as soon as I got home from my trip. I did get to see Sticks at the local county fair, which was wild. So that was pretty much the highlight of my weekend. But, you know, we're surviving.
Okay. Omar?
That's good. I was going to kid Dano a bit, like, who Sticks? You know, this is a young guy here, but I know who Sticks is. That would have made your blood boil. That would have made your blood boil.
It wouldn't have made my blood boil. It just would have shown your ignorance, which, you know, hey, whose fault is that? I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, making it too. I mean, shoot. I mean, there's good years and there's bad years as an Army fan. I'm not saying this is a bad year, but you know, I feel like we've been spoiled. Definitely, I've had to definitely look back at my childhood a bit during these past few weeks and say it could be worse, but we're good.
No, I mean 100%, right? It's what they call a rebuilding year in the SEC. You know, we have not had one of these in a while, right? I mean, hats off to the coaching staff. They've done a fantastic job. You know, pretty consistently having good football teams, right? You know, when I started at the academy in 2014, we were god awful. We sucked. We lost to Yale. We lost to Kent State. We haven't had years like that in a long time. So, it is what it is, I guess. But, you know, another week, another opportunity to go out and beat UAB. Speaking of going out, if you are going out of your current home and moving to Fort Bragg or Fort Liberty or whatever they're calling it these days, and you're PCSing or just moving there for fun because maybe that's what you're doing. No judgment. We have the realtor for you. Jocelyn Bradley is a veteran who spent her career in logistics when she was in the Army. There she discovered her passion for making a difference in people's lives. She's committed to helping her clients find their dream homes when they are in the market, and she provides exceptional service when she's working for you. She also has an extensive network of veteran realtors who can support you if you're relocating somewhere else in the country. So if you're in the market for a home, Jocelyn should be your first call. She's decided to support Ask for Football this season, and she's the right person to get you into the home of your dreams. Even if you're not moving specifically to Fort Liberty or Fort Bragg, you still need a realtor you can trust. Jocelyn makes recommendations, won't cost you anything. Reach out, have a conversation with her. Let her put you in touch with someone with actual integrity in whatever market you're heading into. Well, as we alluded to, and if you were watching football last Thursday night, Army got beat pretty badly at East Carolina. We always knew it was going to be a tough game. The ECU front seven has a lot of experience, a lot of size on defense, especially, you know, for Army coming in off the heels of a double overtime marathon loss to North Texas at home. That saw our offense take over 80 snaps, and the defense took over 90. If we're being honest, the team did not look good. Defense gave up long passes pretty much every time they tried to hit a cover zero blitz, 2 went for touchdowns, gave up 180 yards rushing. Offensively, Army just couldn't even sustain drives, finished 2 of 15 on third down and 4 of 9 on fourth down. We rushed for 241 yards on 4.5 yards a carry, but about a third of that, give or take, came from 2 long runs by Noah Short. So in reality, the yards in the yards per carry was much less than that 4.5. Fullbacks Briggs, Bartosh, Hayden Reed, and Carson Smith carried 10 times for just 18 yards. That's 1.8 yards per carry. That's not very good. Dwayne Coleman, 2.3 yards per carry, though he had a touchdown. He did go 5 for 9 passing with 2 game-breaking drops that might have gone for touchdowns and maybe given us a chance to make it somewhat competitive. The defense played much better through the last 3 quarters, but we were down 21-0 halfway through the first quarter. So not much you can do about that point. Dan, I know you watched and suffered through that game. What were you thinking when you were watching that game?
I mean, it was just, here we go again. How do you find yourself down 21-0 in the first quarter 2 weeks in a row? That's just insane. Nobody's winning like that. That's just not how that works. Game, like you said, the game was frustrating in every way. And I just have to put this out there. I think this team's got a quarterback controversy. I mean, they finally put Helms in for the last drive of the game, down 28-6. That was practically the team's only long drive of the entire game. Maybe he was going against backups, I don't know, but he definitely gave them a spark off the bench. I do understand that the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy in town when the team is struggling, but they need one guy who can push the pile, make reads in the option, and throw occasionally, and they have that in 2 guys, not 1 guy. And that's a problem. Like, that's a real problem. And they got to figure it out or they're not going anywhere. I mean, I do understand why they pulled Helms in a 3-turnover performance against North Texas. And I did think that Coleman deserved to start against ECU after almost pulling the team's bacon out of the fire. But, dude, at some point they got to play the guy who's got more long-term upside. Bottom line.
Who do you think that is, Dan? We're being controversial here.
I think Helms has more physical upside. I mean, we've seen that. His problem isn't that he can't run the offense. His problem is he's struggling to make reads and, do the right thing under pressure. Coleman is making reads, but he, if he gets hit, he's done. He can't take a 4th and 1 and necessarily convert it. So yeah, that's a bad problem.
Yeah. Omar, do you agree Helms has more long-term upside?
I mean, I would say so, just from a practical perspective. I mean, he is a cow. So just from that perspective, I also think too, the issue isn't really the quarterback position. Like, I look at this team and sadly I see 2015, like, it's not as bad. Just the fullback play is not there. Like you mentioned, Jordan, 10 carries for 21 yards. Like, when did that become acceptable for an option offense? Because we all know that you establish a fullback and the option offense goes off that 10 carries. For any option offense, less than 20% of the carries, for the team, distributed for the team, like that's just unacceptable. So that's my perspective too. Like, we got to get the fullbacks going. Like, I know we don't have Darnell. I'm going to go Rick Pitino. Darnell Woolfolk's not walking through that door. Andy Davidson's not walking through that door. But we got to work with the guys we have. We have talented fullbacks. We're just not using them. I mean, we can't be running quarterback off tackle on first and 10, and falling behind the chains. Like, we got to at least try to establish the fullbacks more.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, right? And you talked about some of the greats in Army fullback history, but we used to see, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, 40% of the running plays were going to the fullback.
Absolutely. And they quit doing that because they didn't want to, they had to go away from cut blocking, but they can still cut block in the tackle box.
Yeah.
With the lineman can still cut. So I get it. I do understand it, but it's frustrating. And, Carson Smith, he played pretty well. I don't necessarily think running up the middle against ECU was going to work. Running up the middle last year against ECU didn't work. So, they got the ball out to Noah Short. They set up a couple of passes. Like, that was fine. That's also what they did last year. It does hurt when you have a guy wide open in space and he drops not 1 but 2 touchdown passes, but good Lord, something. And it was good, if the read is the pitch to Noah Short and he's getting good yardage with it, like, that's fine. That's good. But they got to do something. I mean, yeah, that interior offensive line play has not been consistent at all this year. And part of that, I'm sure, is the defenses, but that's not all of it.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make of, yes, I think we do have potentially some issues at fullback, but I think, in my opinion, the bigger issue might be with the offensive line. Obviously we had a absolutely phenomenal offensive line last year, won the Joe Moore Award, probably one of the best offensive lines we've ever had. This year we that same aggressiveness of getting off the line and making defenses move back and kind of give the offense the room to maneuver that we're used to. I think that the offense needs. So notes all around from the offense. Defense, I think defense is getting there, but still have a ways to go.
Well, it hurts you when, if they're going to score on the opening drive on a cover zero blitz, and you don't get home, so you give up a long passing play. Like, okay, that's the first drive of the game. You just have to answer that thing. If you turn around and go 3 and out and then let them do it twice, now it's like, all right, what are we doing there?
Well, exactly. I mean, being down 21-0 with 5 minutes left in the first quarter does not set you up for success. Defense can only do so much. Offense needs to kind of hold their weight, which I think we've had this conversation before, Dan. I remember it was during the Brett Davis era, and it was like, hey, defense is doing everything that they can do, but offense, it goes 3 and out, or they fumble the ball or whatever it is, and the defense has to go right back out there, and they don't ever get an opportunity to actually rest and make adjustments because they're on the field the entire time. That's not
this team very much reminds me of the 2019 team that they showed just enough glimpses to keep you very engaged in how they were doing. That this team looks a lot like that. Like, they've got talent, but they're just not quite clicking on all cylinders for whatever reason.
Yeah, completely agree. Right. I think we can, it might be the loss of leadership, might be, coaching, whatever it might be. I know we've had changes in the coaching staff, and we've obviously had players graduate. Bryson Daly's a big one. I know he was a fantastic leader when he was on the team.
3 offensive linemen, including a 5th-year starting tackle. Like, that guy's loss mattered a lot, I think.
Yeah, no, completely agree.
Last year you could pull, and you had linemen that you felt comfortable pulling from the right tackle across the field. This year, if they try to do that, they're going to take a negative yardage play.
Yeah. Well, we've talked negative. Let's talk positive. Dan, Omar, looks like you guys have some awards that you want to give out this week.
Yeah, hold on. Let me play the sounder. Come on, man. People love the sounder.
Oh, I don't think they do, Dan.
James made the same argument, but you guys are wrong. So James introduced this, and I think people like it. So my award this week goes to tight end Parker Pulaski, who caught a pass for an early critical first down. That was like the first tight end pass of the season, and hopefully a sign of things to come. I think Army has the tight ends to catch passes, and certainly with this offense, they should, they could roll out that 3 tight end set and run or throw off of it. That would be good. And more things to kind of keep defenses off balance, I think, are good. So, yeah, Parker Pulaski catching a pass. I liked it.
If a freshman sorority girl likes getting wine drunk off Moscato on a Tuesday night, Dan loves a tight end pass. It's the same thing, right? Dan just goes crazy for a tight end pass every time. I don't know what it is, but that is your thing, Dan.
I got a friend whose kid is a tight end on the team. It's not that complicated.
Well, I mean, yeah, I wasn't going to go there. I was trying to be funny, but, whatever. Make me feel like a jerk. All right, Omar, what's your award?
I got James Wagenseller for the 71-yard punt that gave a little glimpse of hope that, hey, this is a turnaround that we needed. But I mean, anytime someone kicks a 71-yarder and the bounce goes right, like I don't have the stats with me for like that being the longest punt since whenever. But I mean, heck, if Wagenseller keeps seeing the field, we might see him in January, come one of those All-Star games. So if you're watching this East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, American Bowl, sign our boy James Wagenseller up.
Yeah, we went through a rough patch with punters, right? And offense was good, punters were getting a lot, and they come out and punt it like 32 yards. So it's kind of sad that we're excited about a 71-yard punt, but I guess that's what we have to look forward to. All right. Well, we're not playing a game, apparently, Dan. We got rid of that one.
Well, I just don't have one prepared. Sorry.
If
we could play a game, I guess, if you want.
No, you're pulling a Jordan and not preparing. That's fine. Speaking of not pulling a Jordan, let's talk about Craig Oxane, Dan.
Okay, I guess I will. Friends, Craig Oxane sponsors this show. He is the area sales manager for the Money Store, West Point class of 1994. He's a mortgage broker licensed to lend in all 50 states, but based out of Chicago. He is one of the most successful VA lenders in the country. Craig offers you super competitive rates to give you the best deal that he possibly can. That matters because the mortgage process is super confusing. Interest rates move all over the place, and it's just not the time to deal with some clown who's just trying to make a buck off you. You want to deal with an actual person who you can call on the phone and have a conversation with. And this is how the networks, the West Point network functions, right? Craig is helping us stay in business here at As for Football, and we're helping you to get the best deal on a mortgage that we possibly can by introducing you to the very man that you need to meet. Plus, Craig does not charge lending fees for veterans. That's a huge savings, like $1,300. Save yourself $1,300. Like, that is too easy. So Craig Oxane, area sales manager for the Money Store. His and Jocelyn's links are both up on our website. They both got these little business cards. You just click on them. You'll be talking to them in a couple of hours. It's too easy. Find a home and get it financed with As for Football.
Dan, usually you say, that's like $1,300. Get that money, friends. And you didn't. And I was going to make fun of you. I was like, oh, you wrote that. You're really proud of that. And because you've said that every week for the last 2 years. And today you decided to be different.
I have been trying to switch it up occasionally.
That's good.
Not just be a robot. I try to improve.
That's good. We should take one out of your book. We can all learn from you. An old dog can do new tricks.
Oh my God.
All right, UAB. UAB comes into the game 2-2. They beat FCS Alabama State to open the season. Lost a shootout to Navy 34-24, 38-24 after a long lightning delay, which allowed the mids to adjust their defense and shut UAB down. They beat a bad Akron team 31-28, and they lost to number 15 Tennessee 56-24. They're coming into this game off a bye week. I feel like UAB is a very controversial team, right? And I live in Alabama, right? So they're kind of the forgotten school, right? No one really cares about UAB. I know they've gotten a lot of negative press recently. One, people do not like Trent Dilfer, their head coach. Two, their quarterback got run out of Florida because he had kiddie porn. And then three, I don't remember what game it was, but one of their players stomped on the kicker's foot after the play. So UAB, I don't think anyone really likes or respects. So I'm hoping we can come in and get back on track and, punch a fat kid and move on. Dan, what type of offense are they running down there in Birmingham?
They've been running a decidedly pass-happy offense, at least until they get the red zone, and then they tend to buckle down and run the football a little more, which is kind of what we saw out of ECU as well. They averaged 320 yards passing per game, which is a freaking lot, against just 117 yards rushing, which, again, is not very much at all. Quarterback Jalen Kitna has been very accurate this season, very accurate. 108 for 150 passing for 1,250 yards, 72% completion percentage. That is insane. Dude has 8 touchdowns against 3 picks and 3 sacks. Just outstanding accuracy. Does not run the football, though. Running back Javon Jackson has taken 51 carries for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. They do have kind of a running back by committee, but Jackson gets about half the carries overall. And I know Omar's going to like this stat. Overall, they've thrown 152 times against just 113 runs. Part of that is because they've been behind a lot in games, but still, they have 8 rushing touchdowns against 7 passing, though, so that's kind of wild. And they tend to turn the ball over, man. Lost 3 fumbles, and Kitna's got 3 picks. So here's hoping.
Yeah, I can't really criticize them for losing the ball after the last couple games that we've had and how we.
Yes, since you brought it up, UAB is tied with Army for 112th in the FBS in turnover margin at -3.
I bet that makes Jeff Monken sick because it does not make me feel very good.
Cost him 2 games.
Yeah, Omar, tell us about the defense.
Yeah, so UAB's defense is a very movable object, and they'll be facing the stoppable force in the Army offense. So it's one of those in general. But I mean, honestly, before I leave this off, probably the most staggering stat in my eyes is UAB played Akron, the Akron game we just mentioned. Akron scored 28 of the 31 points that they've scored in 4 games of FBS competition against UAB. So that's a sign for anything. So
wow.
Yes, wow. Incredibly staggering. And again, too, Jordan, I know you mentioned that UAB has a lot going on, right? But, UAB was the story of college football in the mid to late 2010s with the comeback, the resurrection of their program. I do hope the program ends up resurrecting to what they were in the Bill Clark years, but it's just a sad situation. And no offense to Trent Dilfer, I don't think he's the right man for the job. Maybe he can come back and get another job at the FBS level, but I just don't think now is the time. This rush defense struggles a lot. They They allow an average of 223 rush yards per game, over 5 yards a carry. They've allowed 11 rushing touchdowns. And they made that Akron rush offense look really superhuman in that game earlier this year too. And also too about the whole stoppable force or stoppable object or movable force versus stoppable object. They allow 57% third down conversion percentage. I didn't think any team was reaching that heights this year, but that's surely what we need because we were 2 for 15, like you said, Jordan, on third down. I mean, they got a good crew of just incoming transfers. I mean, at safety, Pierre Royster leads the team in tackles. Devin Hightower is good at linebacker. I think anytime you have a safety leading the team in tackles, it's pretty indicative of what's happening in the front seven, though. And then Dano covered it, right, with a turnover margin, 112th in the country. So they're not really forcing that many turnovers. I mean, 3 in 4 games. But I guess that's kind of on par, I guess. It's not bad. It's also not good.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, right? Because, Navy's a good football team this year, right? I hate to say it. I'm sorry, but Navy is a pretty good football team this year. And UAB kind of hung with them, right? And then,
early.
Yeah, but then they let Akron hang with them. So I don't know. This is one of those things where it's like you look at them and it's like, okay, they Dan, like you said, there's a couple bright spots that kind of make you think, hey, maybe, right, keep you interested. But at the same time, when you look at kind of their whole body of work, it's like, yeah, it's really not all that impressive. On special teams, place kicker is 15 for 15 on extra points, 4 for 5 on field goals with his lone miss around 30 yards out. Patrick Foley's their punter, averages about 41 yards a punt. That is nothing compared to James Wagonseller's 71-yard punt from last week. Thank you, Omar. And then they have a solid kick returner in running back Solomon Bebe? Beb?
BB, I'm sure.
Beebe? Beebe.
I think we saw him before. I'm pretty sure it's BB.
Well, his brother was on the team, I think. Lee Beebe transferred out, but there was another Beebe on the team last year. So
I feel like this name has confused me once before. Average 31 yards per return against Akron. So, yeah, it'd be great if we could contain that after what happened at Kansas State. But just throwing that out there.
I highlight that because we've seen this team give up some kick returns this year, which is pretty unusual for a Jeff Monken team.
Yeah. It's going to be a hot game, mostly dry, sunny with temps around the mid-80s. Betting line has opened to Army -10, has slid to Army -7. Over-under sits at 57.5. For what it's worth, the betting experts have seemingly all taken UAB plus the point. Dan, looking at all of this, what do you think going into it?
I mean, it's a game that Army absolutely has to win, right? If you get beat by UAB, you're pretty much at the 2-game season at that point. I mean, when we think of teams that struggle against the Black Knights, though, it does tend to be pass-happy teams that don't run the ball very well and who also struggle to stop the run. That's exactly what we faced this week. If Army's going to get it turned around, like, they still got time, but they absolutely, this is their last chance to, quit turning the ball over, run the football, stop the run, and do their thing. And if they can't do it this week, then I don't know how much I believe they're going to do it. But yeah, man, they got to have this one. Like, Black Knights have got to have this one.
Omar, thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like looking at it right now. So right with the bowl landscape, because I mean we're not going to the playoff, right? Let's put that to rest. I mean, like we have to go 5-2 down the stretch because the bowls, like they're not waiting for the Army Navy game. Like they're not going to wait for us for 5-6 going to Army Navy. So we're gonna have to go 5-2 down the stretch. And I know Dano's mentioned about the scenario where Air Force is essentially at 6th win that puts us over the hump, and it's very much looking that way with Tulane on the schedule still, as well as UTSA. I mean, I think UTSA is still a good team. I mean, they're not a contender really in the American, but they're still a good team. We definitely have to have this game. But I look at this game and I look at how bad UAB's run defense is, and I just earnestly plead Cody Worley and staff to establish the fullback in this game. Don't overthink it. Establish the fullback. I feel like this is the time to get, just figure out like more of what you have at the fullback position. Like Briggs Bartosh looked amazing against North Texas a couple weeks ago. And how do we reward that? 3 carries for 4 yards. And I'm not saying it has to be him, or I think 6 carries for 14 yards. I mixed up him and Hayden Reed's stat line. it doesn't have to be Bartosh, but Smith, Reed, Rendina. Is there a missing persons flyer for Jake Rendina out? Because I don't think he's gotten a carry in the past 2 weeks. Like,
he's been hurt.
Oh, he's been hurt. Okay, I thought I saw him on the field in blocking situations, but okay.
Oh, who knows? But
I think
anyway.
I confused him with Carson Smith. But yeah, like I think we just can't overthink it. But UAB too kind of scares me because they can pop off a big play, and we did struggle in pass coverage last week.
I mean,
yes,
yeah, this is a game you can absolutely lose if you turn the ball over a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. Right, this is a must-win game. And we have a mailbag question later. I don't want to steal from that, but like, we don't win this, I feel like there's going to be some difficult conversations, right? We've already lost to an FCS team. I understand they're a good FCS team. They're trying to make the move. I got it. But this has been a very confusing year, right? We beat a Power 4 team at home for them. And then we struggle against a FCS team. We've gone to overtime in what, two out of our 4 games?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on. So hopefully we get some answers. Hopefully the team, with the extra day or two to rest, feels like we're in a better position and we can figure some things out. I don't know. It's like I feel like we're at the point where it's like you need to kind of walk outside in the cold and just kind of stare off into the sunset and like figure out who you are and who you want to be. And we're at that point. Frankly,
that is exactly where we are. I agree completely with Jordan.
Anyway, we'll see what happens, but it should be a good game either way. And let's go into the fact or fiction. Dano, you're up.
Fact.
That is correct.
Or fiction.
Incorrect.
I got good feedback on the Sounders.
That's I mean, you probably didn't see me like jump, but
no, I just did it on purpose.
The blood pressure up.
Sorry, Jordan. So last week I said Cale Helms runs some option plays between the tackles this week, some obvious option plays. They did finally put him in. He ran power when he was in there, but he did it pretty well. So that's frustrating, I guess, at a certain level. James said last week Army forces multiple red zone field goals. They absolutely did not. ECU faked a field goal for a touchdown. I'm going to stick with it, man. First off, I think Kel Helms runs some obvious option plays between the tackles. And I say that because I honestly think that's what they got to do. They got to find the guy with the upside, and then they got to put him in there and make him do the thing. So what do you think?
Dan, I agree with you. I think we have to, right? We're not going to win this game by throwing the ball all around. We need to move. We need to establish the run. Like Omar said, we need to establish the fullback. We need to establish the quarterback, and we need to move the ball, right? We need to hang on to the ball. My only concern about Helms after his performance against North Texas is if he starts dropping the ball, that's demoralizing and going to put us in a bad position. But
yeah, agree completely.
We'll see. Omar?
What do you say, Omar?
For this one, I say fact, because why not? Because I feel like we'll have the ability to kind of beat up a little bit on UAB if all things go well. It's kind of, I guess, like softer competition.
Yeah.
For him. So I definitely say fact. Like trying these plays against UAB is much better than having to try them against Tulane or Air Force. So I say fact.
You're gonna have to do it. Is kind of where I am with it. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Jordan.
This one's from Rob. Army has a passing touchdown this week. I'm going to say go ahead, Dan.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I will say fact. And the reason I say that is because I think they're going to run the ball well, which is going to give them the opportunity to pass when they want to. And that usually goes pretty well for them.
Omar?
Shoot. I want to say, I feel like Helms is going to start this week. So I'm going to say fiction because I feel like we're not going to open the playbook as much as it would be with Coleman in terms of, play fakes, gun passes. I also feel too, like this is definitely an opportunity to not get cute. And
that's true.
So I'm going to say fiction.
Yeah, Omar, I agree with you. I think we're going to need to keep it on the ground and get back to our roots, right? This is, I think, the kind of game where we just need to figure out who we are, like I said, and that's we're a run-first team. And so I think we need to run. Now, do I envision a world where potentially, right, we need a little trickeration and it's a little 4-yard touchdown or 4-yard tight end pass? Sure, but I I think we're going to keep the ball on the ground as much as possible. Like when I say on the ground, I mean not physically on the ground because we dropped it, but like running it on the ground, not throwing it. Just to be clear. Omar, what's your fact or fiction?
So my fact or fiction is Army holds Jalen Kitna below 300 passing yards. Only one team has done this so far, the mighty Alabama State Hornets, who are a front runner in the SWAC. I mean, they're actually quite impressive. But not even the Tennessee Vols could hold Jalen Kitna to under 300 yards. So fact or fiction?
I will say fact. And the reason that the Vols couldn't do it is because they run that crazy hurry-up offense, and so they're barely on the field. I think if Army can run the ball, that they can dominate time of possession. It's very hard to throw for 300 yards when you're on the field for 15 minutes, which is how Army wins this game. If they can't pull that off this week, they're never going to pull that off. But they've been okay with that this season at times when they don't turn the ball over. So I'm going to say fact.
Yeah, Dan, I'd agree with you. Also, because I don't like Jalen Kitna, and I know Dan, you talk about not holding someone's worst day against them, and he's it's his private. You don't talk about the private life of a
non-public figure.
Yes.
If he's getting paid NIL, then he's by definition a public figure because that's name, image, and likeness money. Makes him a professional athlete.
Yeah, and if you get arrested for child porn, I really don't give a shit. So he's a horrible person. But anyway, hope he has a horrible day every day. Omar?
I'm gonna say fact, but I say we cut it very close, honestly. Just because UAB throws the ball so much, like they are the definition of a team that is like abandon ship with the run game and throw every single play. Like even last year too, like I think he had over 300 yards or something like that, or close to 300, and he didn't even start the game against us last year just because they're behind and they abandoned their run game completely. So, I mean, UAB has no semblance of balance once they're behind. It's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right. So, shocker, I didn't prepare. So AJ Scott gave me my Firsty Club question. Army gets 3 sacks and forces a pick. That's 4 turnovers for those of y'all keeping score.
No. 3 sacks, not 3 sack fumbles.
Oh, damn it. Wow. It has been a day, guys. Okay. Wow. Okay. 3 sacks and forces a pick. Wow. Okay. Dan, bail me out here.
Fiction. Unfortunately, I would love for that to happen. If they get 3 sacks, they'll probably also get a pick, but this team has really, and I mean really struggled to generate pressure on the quarterback. That's one of the biggest differences with this defense between last year, is that they're struggling to get that pressure. So I'm going to say fiction. Be great, but I don't know if I believe it.
Omar?
I'm gonna have to agree and say fiction. Like I think we do keep them at bay in the pass game, but I just don't know if we get there in time. I think our secondary will shine more than our pass rush does.
Yeah. I'm going to say fact. You know what? Because I think we need to be able to pressure the quarterback. If Kitna sits back there all day in protection and can throw wherever he wants, it's going to be a very long Saturday. I think we have to get pressure on the quarterback and pressure on the receivers in order to stand a chance. Otherwise, we're going to get in a shootout, and we all know what happens when Army tries to get in a shootout. It does not go well in the football field.
Prepare yourself. We have a sounder for this one.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
You've got mail.
That was very tame. I kind of like that. That was
okay.
Yeah, I feel like the
it's a creepy AI voice, but you get toys.
No, it's fine. It was like kind of British. I thought it was very posh, and that was good. Yeah, the one on Fact or Fiction needs like a sensory trigger warning or something. That one's a lot. All right, so for mailbag, we did 3 of these last week. We pick them on the fly. We solicit questions from the Firsty Club, but anyone can send us a question. If you got something you'd like us to address, you can email us through the website or hit us up on social media at As for Football. Terry Brennan asked, what hurts us more on offense? What hurt us more on our offensive line and defensive line? Graduations, injuries, or the departure of Drinkle and Cronin? Omar, what do you think?
So I'm gonna go with a hot take on this one. Not much of a hot take, but I want to look at just put my finger on the pulse of the college football world right now. For Central Michigan, it's really starting well in the MAC,
Three and
and
two.
you can see changes out there. Like you can see the attack, like the wheels are starting to get greased in that scheme. I mean, last week they had 311 rush yards against Eastern Michigan, and they played an Army football game, like by all measures. I mean, I guess a kind of diluted version of it. They only threw the ball 18 times, but they had 40. They ran the ball 48 times, I think, for 311 yards. Eastern Michigan only ran around 60-ish plays, so like Central Michigan shortened the game. And I think that coaching is really what's being missed. Is really what's missing here. I feel like the play calling at times is kind of misdirected. Really, we don't really have that moxie, that kind of guarantee that we're going to get third and shorts, fourth and shorts anymore. So I'm gonna have to say Drinkle, just based off what he's doing at Central Michigan.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Worley and Bryson Daly had a great relationship, right? And so I think we've also lost that just because Bryson Daly isn't here anymore. Graduations obviously hurt us. They hurt every team, though. But Omar, I have to agree with you. You look at Central Michigan and what they're doing. The loss of Drinkle, I think, really hurt. His leadership, his expertise. Dan, what do you think?
Well, I think it's mostly graduations, but not because of the physical play on the field. I think it's really the leadership behind the scenes. Last year you had such a strong group of leaders. So if the guys weren't doing the thing in their playbooks, doing whatever, there were many, many, many voices in there to get them refocused. And I'm not convinced that that's what's happened this year. And, it's kind of a youngish O-line, which we haven't seen in a while. And yeah, I just think going from that much leadership on the O-line to suddenly kind of not having that, I think that's a huge difference. Not to mention the fact that Bryson Daly is obviously also a pretty strong leader, and his loss just to the whole offensive emotional makeup of that team, I think is pretty big loss.
Yeah, agreed. AJ Scott submitted, if we lose this game, do we, quote, pack it in and focus on development and the Commander-in-Chief's trophy? Omar, I know you love the CIC. What do you think?
I love the CIC. I also love bowl games. And until we hit that sixth loss, I say don't pack it in. I mean, there's always a good time to make a push for a first responder or armed forces bowl. You can't tell me there's not a good time to push for that. I'm being kind of joking here, but I really think the whole pack it in thing, I don't think you can do that at the quarterback position. I say maybe get more faces in at the slot back position, maybe get more creative, which I guess that's kind of a sneak peek on one of the other questions from the mailbag. But I don't ever think packing it in for a service academy is ever something that should be considered, because, and I'm going to get cliche, but like these guys only have 4 years to play football. I mean, like that's not like, I feel like they're owed like not being packed in, and I mean, and I'm not saying like just pity the seniors and have them on the field, but like if you can make a push for a bowl game, you can make a push for extra football to savor a season. Like, why wouldn't you? So that's just where I'm coming from.
Dan?
Why are we not focusing on development and the CIC no matter what? I mean, no matter what else is going on, those things matter a whole hell of a lot. I'm not sure that, they're not competing for the American Conference this season. That's over. It was just fine. Like, that's okay. The season's not lost. Whether they make it to 6 wins or not, they've got to do this stuff regardless, right? They've got to figure out who is going to be on this team next year and develop those guys and be ready for next year. At the same time, that's also how they win games this year. So I feel like that's kind of a false choice.
Yeah. I know last year was a historic season, right? Most wins, all this stuff that happened. All I remember about last year is that we shit the bed against Navy. That's the only thing that I remember. So ultimately, yes, at some point when we were talking about Army, the only thing that matters is that game on the second Saturday of December and whether or not we beat Navy. But that does not mean that we airmail it for the rest of the season and show up and get walked over so we can prep for Navy. I think Dan, to your point, the development is going to happen in those games on Saturdays.
Absolutely.
To prepare for Navy and getting ready for the CIC games is going to happen against UAB. It's going to happen against North Texas. So I agree. I think it's a little bit of a false choice. But I also at the same time acknowledge that the focus has shifted from hey, are we a dark horse for the CFP like we kind of were last year? Hey, are we going to win the American? Hey, are we going to go to a good bowl? And it's now like, hey, are we going to a bowl? Period? Question mark. Or are we going to beat Navy? Like the bar has been lowered a little bit, and hopefully we can still make it over.
I gotta say, I'm not much of a fan of the 1-game season. Like, oh, if we have a terrible season, but we beat Navy, everything is okay. And pretending that last season wasn't a great season because they lost that one game, to me, also doesn't fly. I just like the rivalry's great. I love it. I competed in it a ton, but you can't just say this one game is the only thing that matters. Like, I just don't agree with that. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's the only thing that matters. I'm just saying, like, when I think of last season, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And now that was the only game I went to last season, right?
Yeah.
So,
see, I actually went to the American Conference Championship game, and let me tell you, that game mattered.
Yeah, 100%. And I watched that game, and it was fantastic. But, like, I don't know, just to me, in the back of my mind, it's always, last year was great. But, like, when I got to work on Monday and I had people texted me like, hey, I thought Daly was in the running for the Heisman. I thought Army was a good – what the hell happened? It's like that's what I remember. So everybody's different.
All right, fair enough.
All right, question from Mike. I know that defense plays that soft zone, but do we need to start blitzing more to get pressure on the quarterback? Army has this kind of bend but don't break offense. Is it time to maybe move away from that? Omar, what do you think?
So I think some of the issues in the secondary were kind of amplified by Colin Matheson being hurt. Stephen Ndozi had a good game too, but I mean, Matheson's presence being gone kind of hurt the secondary. So I kind of say I'm not sure if Matheson's going to be back this week, but if he's back, we have a full strength secondary. I say why not start blitzing more, because from the looks of it too against East Carolina, like looked like Caden Hauser had all day to throw. Or even then, if we just start doing stunts, like different stunts, like maybe drop a lineman back into coverage, because East Carolina and North Texas, they're quick passing games. They don't have their quarterbacks sit and be statues like UAB does. And I think that's more of what teams in the American do. Like if we just start throwing crazy stuff in those blitzes, like defensive line stunts, lineman dropping back into coverage, like I feel like that would even be a better solution than blitzing.
Dan?
Both those long touchdowns to start the game came in that when they went to a zero coverage, zero safeties back, one-on-one coverage down the field, and they got burned. And the reason that you do that is because you're trying to get pressure on the quarterback. So if anything, no, they need to go the other way with it, even though it sucks.
Yeah. Dan, I agree with you, right? We have not seen that the defensive line can get consistent pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
I think throwing more bodies at it and leaving the safety or the corners out in an island to get burned is not how we win football games. So
it definitely is not. I mean, the last 3 quarters, they made the adjustment and quit doing that, and they all but shut down ECU's offense.
Yeah.
It's not like ECU took their foot off the gas. It's just the defense made an adjustment, but by the time they made it, they were down 21-0. So yeah, no, that's frustrating, but no, unfortunately, they got to play that soft zone and keep those safeties back there.
Yeah. Traditionally, Army has not had secondary that was big enough or fast enough or frankly been talented enough to be on an island. And I think we are significantly improved from the days of 2014, 2015 when that was the case. But we're still not at the point where we have the secondary to be able to do that and go to cover zero and blitz that aggressively. Also, to reiterate my previous point, we have not seen evidence that even can do anything when we do that. So all we've seen is that we do it and they score touchdowns. I don't know why we're going to continue to do that.
Yeah. They're really struggling to get pressure this year, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it is. All right. Hey, well, as we wrap up, I want to share a programming note for everyone. We're going to start recording this show on Monday next week, this time 6:30 Eastern. We've been struggling with everybody's schedules this season, so we're hoping to kind of move around some things on personal lives and with the show, and hopefully get some more consistent cast for the show for you listeners. So appreciate the flexibility as we continue to try to figure things out. I know it may seem like this is all of our full-time jobs, but it is a hobby, and the full-time jobs, marriages, spouses, kids, all that other stuff, takes priority sometimes. So with that, go Army, beat UAB. Talk to you next week.
Beat them.
Thanks for listening to this week's Ask for Football Army Football Show. hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Army football. Remember, cheering in the stands or following along from home, get all your updates on the Army football team at asforfootball.com. And as a special thanks, we would like to thank our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you need. Visit jocelynbradley.com for all your real estate needs. Don't forget, subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on social media for all the latest updates. Until next time, go Army, beat Navy.